welcome to Unglamorous Truths, the comedy podcast about how to make it come higher, hell water. I'm Crystal.
I'm Chandra.
I'm a Mebit.
Today, let's kick it off with a fun little question. So, what is on your playlist right now? What are you into? What are
Okay.
the vibes?
I've been listening to Chance the Rapper's acid rap. So I've
Mm.
been throwing it back, and it's the 10-year anniversary of that album this year, so he's doing like concerts for it. Then I started listening to acid rap again. I'm like, this album is so fucking good.
Mm.
And it came out like my first like real year in LA. So like also I like remember,
Mm.
so we really didn't have anything to do, just driving around, smoking,
Mhm.
Going to the beach
going to
in
the beach,
February.
listening to that
Mhm.
album. So it's been making me feel youthful.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that.
What about you?
Well, y'all know I'm an Alina Baraz stan.
Yeah.
So if all else fails, my go-to is Alexa, play Alina Baraz. But outside of that, tried and true. 90s, 2000s bad boy. That's my era.
Yes,
I have my own little playlist that I made for myself.
take
Total
that.
112, Mace.
Yeah,
That's my world, my pocket.
love that.
Mm.
Yeah, lately I've really been into Kid Cudi's album Intergalactic, which is literally a company album to the movie.
It's so
It's
good.
so
It's so
astonishingly good.
good.
I don't know why y'all have not seen this movie, but everyone needs to go
They have.
watch.
They
Yeah,
have.
people seen
Have they?
this.
I feel
Yeah.
like I haven't heard
When
any
it
like
first came out.
I haven't heard rave reviews. I haven't like
I
I've
don't know.
expected the internet to
Yeah.
blow up. It was so good. I watched that movie like 4 times.
Yeah. Well, I feel like
Like,
people only really talk about stuff when it's really
yeah,
trash or like
yeah.
or if it's like an award situation,
Right. I'm
But
like,
if
give
it's
Kid
just
Cudi
like
his
really good and like,
flowers.
you know, culty good, but the real ones know. The
Yeah.
real ones know.
I I
The cutters know. We know it's
I love that the album reminds me of the movie because I love the movie so much that like
mm-hmm.
I literally just listened to the album and I'm like, oh, this is that scene in the movie. And I'm just like, oh, this is like, ugh, he did that. Okay, well, on that wavelength, today's episode is all about inspiration. So, what inspires you? What keeps you going? Why did you start? So, in terms of, we can speak to our industry. What, as a child, would you say was kind of that defining first moment that inspired you to enough to be like, oh, I think I want to be a part of this world, either as an actor or a writer or whatever.
Yeah, this is very clear to me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because I was really shy.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, kind of similar to how I am now, where if you don't know me, I'm like, can be very quiet, but those who know me know that I talk a lot and like I'm turned and crazy. But only for those who I know. So I was like that as a kid, but so much so, like I would try to climb in my mom's shirt, when I was around
Mm.
people I didn't know. Like I just, she even cut me off. She stopped going on my field trips to like push me, out. Um, but at my grammar school or elementary school for non-Chicagoans, we had like a Saturday school program, and it was just various clubs, like you could
Mm.
take Kiswahili, it's very black, but they had drama, and so I was in the drama group, and we did a play at the end, and I played a villain. I played a fox, and
Mm.
I killed it. I killed that
Mm.
shit. Like I was so, and obviously I didn't see it, but the reviews, the
Absolutely.
everyone's
You had
response.
lines?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. I
no,
didn't
I'm
know if it
telling
was
you.
physical or if it was
Well,
okay.
yeah. No, we had
Yeah.
lines, and yeah, I killed it, but also that teacher, she just like brought me out of my shell entirely, and like um it she showed me that this is the way that I could connect with people, and it was a way that I
Mm.
could show who I was in a way
Mm.
that felt safe and like non-judgmental, because it's like you're not really judging me.
Mm-hmm.
You're just I'm playing a character.
Right.
So yeah, that was the moment. After that, I was like it was like tunnel vision. I was like,
Just on
oh
and popping.
yeah, like I don't want to do shit else.
Nice.
Yeah.
For me, I always had like a vivid imagination. I with my little friend group, I orchestrated the game House.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
House. I love House. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I gave everybody characters, I gave
Mm-hmm.
everybody storylines. Like I was a writer before I knew I was a writer.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave everyone conflict. And then it was just like, okay, now let's go.
What were some of the
I
conflicts?
don't even remember anymore,
You
but it was
beefing.
just like I just remember us being in the basement and I'm assigning everybody their roles and it's like a little improv game. Before I even knew what improv
You know what
was.
else I'm hearing is director,
Yes.
because I've been trying to push a method to be a
Yes.
Oh.
director for quite some time now,
Yes.
and I'm hearing baby director as
No,
well.
yeah, I see it too. It's
Absolutely.
there.
Nice and bossy.
Yes.
Hello. But the moment where I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, um, I was in the sixth grade and I was watching the Oscars with my dad. And this is the time that like The Sixth Sense was nominated. And
Mm.
I saw Haley Joel Osment on the carpet, and I was 12, he was 12. And I was like, oh, like if he can do it, so can I. And I told him, I was like, Dad, I want to do this. And he was like, okay. It's funny because, it's fast forward years later, and he's in my studio class at NYU. And like, you hear all these, you heard the rumors when we first got to NYU of
Yeah,
like,
what celebrities
he's
are going to be
he's
there?
coming, he's gonna be here. But there were like 1,000 or plus of us. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm never gonna see this person.
And he's in your
He's in
class.
my class of 14. And I never told him this because I never want to sound crazy. But yeah, like I called my dad immediately after that first day. I'm like, Dad, guess who's in my class? And when I told him, he was like, "Oh, this is God. I can
Yeah.
never even stand the
No,
weight of
really.
this."
That's
Like,
synchronicity
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Tender.
hmm
What's up, Haley?
this is yeah, my first time saying this to you.
I would say for me, it's funny because the thing that I wanted to be the most, as you all know,
Mariah
was
Carey.
Mariah Carey. So I was her in my mind as young as age 2. I knew her lyrics. I wrote them out. Back then it was the cassettes, so they were on the inside the
Yep.
deck, and I would just rewrite them to make sure I had them memorized.
Mhm.
And then I performed them with my brother, and then we put on dances. Christian, I'm blowing your spot up. He would like lift me in the air and like take me around the house, and I'd be like a little ballerina dancing Mariah Carey.
Mhm.
I love that.
So that was like our childhood play. And then also both my mom and my father know how to play the piano. So we had a piano in the house and we would just like make up crazy stories based on like one person would trade like playing at the piano something weird and crazy, and then the other would like make up a whole like theatrical show about it.
Mhm.
So we do that together. But I think the first time that I was so like immersed and obsessed about acting was watching my parents didn't really like have a boundary around what movies I
Yeah,
watched.
we didn't either. Yeah.
I watched all the movies at like age 3 and 4. The two movies that made me realize, oh, this is a acting thing is are Ghost with
Mhm.
Whoopi
Mhm.
Goldberg, and I was just astonished by this woman. Like I was just like, she's incredible. Wow. And then also this movie, this is definitely a throwback. Rain Man
Yeah.
Yeah.
with Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise.
Mhm.
I remember watching Dustin Hoffman and I swore he was uh I
Mm-hmm.
forget what he
A
was in the
savant.
movie.
He was
Savant,
a
but
savant.
I believe on the spectrum or something, right?
Mhm.
I didn't know that he wasn't like he was not that. Like, and I remember when I found out, I was just like, oh my God, he made that up? Like,
Now he made that up.
I really was like, oh my God. And honestly, Dustin Hoffman might be one of my favorite actors. Like, I love
Mhm.
everything he does. It's so random, but I think that because it made that first impression on me, I
Mhm.
was just like, yeah. So I would say that.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Oh, okay. Well, and when we talk about inspiration, I think it's something interesting to look at in terms of how our generation views it versus like that of kind of like our parents or whatever. Because, obviously we are pursuing careers and dreams that we really care about. Like
Yeah.
fulfillment is a top priority, right? And I've realized that that's kind of like been a shift in the last few decades where like us and especially Gen Z as well, their priorities are like fulfillment. must be on the table, like in terms of seeking a career or a job, where our parents, they had different values. Like they were probably a little bit more geared towards, stability or achievement, like just doing the thing, knocking, like checking things off the list, and obviously getting paid. But I feel like now it's almost like people aren't having the conversation about, oh, I'm going to take that job, or I'm going to do this career, or I'm going to pursue this dream of mine if I can't feel deeply
Mm.
inspired and like tapped into a sense of purpose.
Mm.
Why do you think that changed? Like what change shifted generationally from our parents where like they don't even get it sometimes? I know, I mean, my parents, I've always been lucky enough to have parents that were like, follow your dreams, that matters. But I know that it's a thing. And some people were like, my parents make fun of me, like, y'all spoil, y'all like want to always do
Yeah.
things because you like it and you want to. And, you know, they'll pressure people to do things that make sense or are responsible. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know. Sometimes I think like that the crash,
Mm,
that happened like right after we graduated, like has a lot to do with it. And I remember reading this article about like our millennials, the most unlucky generation. And I'm sure you've seen like those videos online that just like point out all the things that have happened to millennials. And so I think when just everything is constantly crumbling under you, it's like, what
mm.
is stability? Right? Like, what is stability? Like if you had worked hard and you had made all these achievements, boom, pandemic, bitch, shook. So it's like it's stability is like barely even like a
It's an
real concept
illusion.
to us. Yeah, it's an illusion. Like so, why chase that?
Mm,
I'd rather just chase my fulfillment because I don't even know that's fake too. Like that's pixie
Mm.
dust. It's all fake.
that's real.
Yeah.
That's real. Yeah, I don't have the answers for it, but yeah, that makes sense. And I could imagine Gen Z feels that way even more. That
I feel like Gen Z is really after the bag. They just it their thing is lifestyle. I really only see them on TikTok because I don't have Gen Z friends.
mm,
But on TikTok, it's they want to be able to afford their luxury or luxury adjacent lifestyles,
mm.
and their jobs are it's just a vehicle to get there.
Detached
It's
almost,
yeah,
like
like
income
it's
versus, but to the point of no loyalty. Like,
none. What do you mean
And you know,
loyalty? Why? Why be loyal to a company that's not loyal to
exactly.
you?
and they
No,
got
I
that.
agree.
And I like the way they'll get a job
Yep.
and they'll tell a job, look, okay, I will start in January, but just so you know, I already have a vacation plan for February. This is pre-existing. I've had this plan for 6 months.
Hmm.
I will be going. And if that job says that's not okay, they will be like, oh, well, unfortunately, I can't work here. It
Like
seems like our core values don't align.
On core
Now
values.
that we would not have done that.
No, they are badass. Shout
Yeah.
out to y'all.
get
Y'all are
on the side
unapologetic.
of like job negotiation TikTok, they are
Yes.
really killing it on how to
Yes.
negotiate better
Yeah.
salaries. Like they know their worth, and
Hmm.
they also understand that like bending over backwards and like burning yourself out is a thankless task.
Yep.
Yes. I feel like I think, and that's the huge like evolution, right? Is our parents, the job was the identity in so many ways. Or at least I'll speak for myself. But like, it was like so much of what you do is like what you're giving to your career of your choice. And I feel like the Gen Z is very much like, oh, that's just like something I do, but it's not who
Right.
I am.
It was, and it's also with our parents, it was tied to their integrity and their dignity.
Right.
And like, my mom, she's retired now, but because her job gave her arthritis, like she was really
Mm,
laboring. And I'm like,
yes.
girl, just clock it in. Like, what are we doing?
Do
Like,
less.
do the bare minimum. Why are you doing other people's jobs? Because they're not doing it right. And
Well, see, you know, look, I miss that generation of working because I'm gonna tell you, when I go to the post office, if I look across the line, I'm standing in a boomer's line
Yeah.
because that person knows how to work.
Hmm.
Like I
that's
respect the way things is going, but motherfuckers do not know how to work now, and that is not fully okay. I'm not saying you got to go above and beyond, like your name is on the company door, but do your
split
job
the
when you at work.
difference.
Yeah, split the
Split the
difference.
difference.
Don't just be sitting there on your phone doing whatever.
Doing the
God
TikTok
damn it.
dance.
Yeah, like I need help. I need assistance. Please. Please.
I
So
mean,
I'm, but I'm
Especially
also
with
getting older, so
all the
that's the
customer
type of shit
service
I'm
people
on.
at work, but they at home. So
Yes.
you calling to complain about something that matters to you, and they're just coming off their lunch break and they bed. They're in their beds. They are in
They're
bed.
in the
Ma'am,
bathtub.
ma'am,
Yeah.
I don't I don't have the answer. Not no. You know, I don't know, but give me one moment and I'll find that out for you. I need that. So
Absolutely.
yeah, split the difference, I think is fair.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think it's great that I feel like a huge part of what we do is our passion leads our work and our career and our job. So,
Mhm.
that being said, like, what would you say is your inspiration now for what you do? Like, and that could mean writing, that could be acting, that could be all of it. It could be another thing you want to add to that plate. But like, what is kind of driving you and motivating you now? For example, to make it a little, simpler, like in conversation with, say, your 17, 18-year-old self that went to NYU, where are you now compared to where that young woman was?
Oh, wow. Okay. This just reminded me of an exercise that we did at NYU on our first day of acting class. We had to write down why we wanted to pursue this as a career. And what I wrote was I acting to me is an escape. I get to be all these different kinds of people and I get to like
Mm,
check out of myself for a moment and step into other perspectives and other point of views. And
mm,
then on our very last day, 4 years later, they gave us back that piece of paper and said, "Is this still true?" And
mm.
I looked at Rosemary and I was like, "I wrote this? What?" This it's the complete opposite. It's not an escape. It is the most inward
Mm,
exploration I could have ever done.
mhm,
It is unpacking so much of me and
mhm,
understanding me at my core.
mm,
What do you mean an escape, girl? What?
Hmm.
And and to this day, it's really been that of like a deep connection with myself
mm,
and sharing that with the world
mhm,
of my authentic story and my experience in
mm,
hopes to find relatability. Like, did anyone else go through this?
mm,
Yes.
mm.
And that's a point of connection.
That's beautiful. I know I can kind of relate. I feel like the arc for me going to NYU, I was so collective focused. Like I was a baby activist. So I came into that school and like was like this acting is a tool, it's powerful, power to the people, like it's a way to like connect with others, but like what I have refreshingly discovered on the journey is that it's actually such a personal journey and it's more of a solo like individual journey to me than it ever has been before. Because before it was almost like, oh well, like in NYU they had that question, art for art's sake, right?
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
do
Hmm.
you do
Yep,
art
yep.
for art's sake, or do you do
Hmm.
it must have a like a impact or like make a
Hmm.
big difference in the
Hmm.
world, right?
And Ita, we like to call it masturbatory art.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Art for art's sake, masturbatory art. Oh, so they
Yeah.
were anti art for art's sake.
No, it
Oh,
just you
okay.
could do it,
Got
but
it. You're like,
that
not
was the
for,
term we used
got
of
it.
like that's
Okay,
masturbatory.
interesting.
So, but sometimes you gotta get one off.
Real.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and I think for me, I like laughed at that question at the time when I was like 17 because I was just like, everything is for if is for a reason. Everything is for people, but like also now that I've evolved and matured and I'm like, no, some things can be just for you. And what I mean by that is like almost like a righteous selfishness where it's like what I do in my journey and with the tools to like be vulnerable with myself, be self-aware with myself, will of course heal people or make a difference or extend because the deeper I go with myself, the more that's gonna reflect in anything that I give off as the work.
Hmm.
So it doesn't have to be like it's almost like how do you enter the work? And for me, I'm like, it doesn't have to be um I'm automatically thinking about everybody else. It's like,
Hmm.
no, it can be what I'm feeling,
Hmm.
what I'm on.
I think one thing consistent about what inspired me then and what inspires me now is that it's fun.
Mm,
It's very fun for me. Um, Creating it feels good. It is masturbatory in the best
Hmm.
way. Um, but in terms of like a bigger purpose, I think expanding representation
Yeah.
is always really important to me. You know, across the fields, because representation matters. You know, when you see things, I mean, you look at like the Cosby effect, right? You know, feel how you feel about the man, yeah, but think about how many doctors and lawyers came after that show. You know,
Mhm.
like I remember when I was having my son, so many of the doctors there were black. And it's just and it is wholly it's the Cosby effect. It's seeing somebody who looks like you doing something, and even though this is not real, you know, it's Dustin Hoffman here, they're acting, but just seeing that makes it feel
Possible.
possible. You know, and I think that's important. But I don't feel like I go after work at all in like a political way anymore. I think definitely that was like very college and like post college for me, because I think in college that's when you be the wokest. You know, you learning stuff all the time. You get outraged good, and you know you get out and you get to fighting. Um, Sometimes it's just like this the shit I want to say.
Yeah.
And you know, and I have to trust that I'm not the only person who wants to see this. I'm not the only person who feels this way. I'm not the only person who wants to have these conversations. But ultimately, I need to get my shit off. That's the only way it feels like pure and enjoyable.
And on the note of possibility, a big part of the inspiration for me growing up was watching my mother's relationship to TV and film. Like, my mom loved Lifetime. She used to watch that shit religiously. Transition to like Hallmark, just anything. Like any channel that played movies 24/7, my mother was locked in. Like that was her thing. And she learned so much from watching movies. My mother learned English from watching movies. And she found love again in her 50s just from watching these romantic movies and seeing that it's possible. Like it gave her faith.
Keeping her heart open.
Yes.
Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite stories. I always love when you tell that story. And, you know, and your mom's experience with TV, that has been actually like a very inspirational story to me moving forward. Because, you know, just because I know this woman. And so like knowing what it did to her, like, and I feel like you told us that story like a few years back at a time where, you know, we were going through a lot as artists. And so it was like really inspiring for me. It was like, we got to do it for Shashi. You know, we got to do it because there's people out there who need this.
You don't know who's watching. You don't know who's watching. And it's and I think one thing that will always fortify me when I'm feeling out of my purpose or the inspiration of it is thinking about like a kid somewhere, probably a young Black girl in DC or Maryland that's like just a baby in the world. And TV does guide so much. Unfortunately, maybe not as much as it should be, but it does. So why not be that person that can breathe some new possibility into somebody?
And that's an area where we are really needing some representation. Because today I met one of the writers of Tab's Time. You know, Tab, she got a kid show.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good.
I watch it.
It's really good.
As an adult.
What's it on?
For preschoolers.
I mean, not Yahoo. What the hell? YouTube.
YouTube. It's a YouTube show.
It's on Yahoo. Yahoo out here too. Y'all forgot about Yahoo. But they working though.
They probably are.
Doing.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, but my Just Peachy 87 at Yahoo probably still exists. Go ahead and email that. But no, it's on YouTube. But and I just was praising this man up and down. He's like, I'm a fan of you. I said, no, we don't care about me. What you're doing is the Lord's work. Like that representation, that is really all I want
for young children.
Yes. And the kids love it.
Yes.
Tab is everything. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I will say that when I first started, especially when we realized we were going to start writing, a lot of what moved me at the time was like almost like being a rebel with a pen. Like everything was very anti. Everything was very like, fuck the world. Like, man, everybody's against me, whatever. Just like feeling very like I got to fight my way out of like everybody else's narratives. Right. And like, and there was fun in that, like that anger, that righteous anger of like, you know, just like feeling like I get to determine myself for myself. We got to determine as a group stories about Black women for ourselves. And like, you know, my old favorite quote literally is from Audre Lorde that's like, if you, I'm gonna mess this up. Sorry, but essentially, like, if you let yourself believe everybody else's definitions and fantasies of you, you would be crushed alive. Like, you would not
Yeah.
make it in this world. If we went based off of what the news, other television shows, just any media says about Black women, we are ghetto, criminal, thieving, hoochie mamas. Like, literally, it's just like embarrassing, those narratives. And so for me, it was so empowering to be able to use my pen as a weapon
Yes.
and write my way out of into new narratives,
Yeah.
true narratives.
Yeah.
Ooh, bars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speak
Yeah.
the word.
I
You
think
know,
the intention is still the same, just the method is
now it's more
different. Because
fun.
it's not because
Yeah.
in for me now, instead of I'm gonna show you who I'm not, now I'm just let me just show you who I am.
Yes.
You know, I don't
And
have
be
to.
honest.
Mhm.
Really honest.
Mhm.
Sometimes I have to take a break from writing because I'm like, oh, I'm crying. I need a moment. That was me yesterday. I was like, oh, hold on. Getting a little too deep. I'm being really fucking honest.
Girl.
And then instead, I'm like, do I really want to share this
Yeah.
with people? Or
Yeah.
do I want to just keep this one to myself? And I'm like, no. That's
Yeah,
when you
wanna share it,
know.
Yeah.
Like when it scares the shit out of you, it's when you know it's
You should
real.
write it.
Yeah.
Great, great. Okay, well, we're gonna move on into a segment called Bootleg Fabulous. And for today's segment, my question to you is, what is a life hack or resourceful way that you stay inspired creatively, and specifically like around the idea of things to do? Thinking about back to our 20s when we always wanted to be out or like get some inspiration or creativity, but we didn't necessarily have the pockets. Like, what are some go-tos for you?
It could be free, it cannot be free, but just live life. Like
Mm.
really live life as fully as possible. Um, that to me is the greatest because sometimes like I can't even write if I have not been living.
Yeah.
Because when
Oh yeah.
I was just working like
Yes.
right now, like, you know, of course during a strike, you know, everything coming to me. I'm like, I'm cracking, I'm popping. But because there was so much just back to back work, which was wonderful, but I was not really being able to like live in such a full way. And so it's like when I'm hitting the pages, it's like, well, what I'm even gonna talk about?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not experiencing
Mm-hmm.
in a real full way. So always that just living as fully as possible. Yes, anding the world. Yes,
Yes.
anding safely. You know,
Ooh.
yes, anding. You know,
Yeah.
a little danger, but not too crazy on the danger.
Mhm.
But that, and then if you can't get outside, you know, if you got to be in reading books, reading books, because people who write books really can write. You know, yeah.
For me, I'd say stay a fan. Stay a fan for as long as you can. Did not mean to rhyme that at all.
Bars.
It's giving Dr.
Bars.
Seuss. Um, but like when I lived in New York, I used to take myself on movie dates. I would take that train down from Harlem to the Upper West Side and go to that theater on like 72nd Street
Mm-hmm.
and watch movies by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it'd be so great. And if I was really feeling myself, I'd take myself to dinner. And I know it's
Mm-hmm.
really controversial. Some people have feelings about going to dinner alone, but I think it's empowering.
Yeah,
People think
absolutely.
some people think it's lame.
I think they're lame.
But yeah, but you hungry, go
And
eat.
also,
You know what?
like, it's the one thing you have to do your whole
Well, see,
life.
that's because now people don't know how to sit with
They don't.
themselves. You know, motherfuckers is scared of that.
Mhm.
Shit. If you
Savor that.
can't have dinner with yourself, then who can you have dinner with?
Period. All right. So I knew I fuck with y'all.
Yeah.
As if this is like I don't.
Today years old.
We just met at a day party. I like y'all. I like these bitches. We friends.
Can you imagine? But also what I do, you know I got this park in LA that I love to go
Yes.
to. It's in the Palisades. It overlooks Will Rogers Beach. It's
Yes.
absolutely stunning. And
Mhm.
I will go there with a blanket and some snacks and my laptop. Sometimes I'll write from there.
Mhm.
Cost you nothing.
Switch up
Yes.
your view.
Okay.
Switch up the view.
Change your view. That's
Change your view, change your mind.
yep. That's mine too. Is like, especially in LA. Oh my God. What the land is fucking fertile. Like,
Mhm.
there's so much inspiration in the literally the beach, the mountains. What do you want? I got
Yeah.
it. Like, so I mean, y'all know I like to go to the beach. Like, I go a lot by myself, but lately I've switched it up in the last month. I've been weekly going back to my original favorite place, the Angeles National Forest. And I was just there 2 days ago. And I'll go and I'll just drive and then I'll just get out. And even if I only have about 5 minutes, because that drive takes a while to get somewhere nice looking. So you have to drive 30 minutes just to get into the right spot. So sometimes I don't have that much time. But regardless, I get out the car, I ground myself, I sit on the ground, I literally just look at the mountains. Because the mountains
Mhm.
are like, you think you're in a different country. You can't, it's just crazy that it's LA. Like, it feels
Yeah.
like it would be like Africa or
Yeah.
like, Cape Town or something.
Mhm.
So that really grounds me. Like, I'm just in silence. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I hope I don't ever get kidnapped because I usually go by myself. But I tell people that I'm going.
Is that a site? Is that
Well,
like
there's no
We
signal.
have your
oh
I was
You
gonna say
get
we
off
have
the
your
grid.
location.
Yeah. So if I
we're
ever,
not speaking
okay,
that.
that's fine.
Okay.
But I would say LA people go there. And in New
Yeah.
York, back in New York, it was, for me, it was the Brooklyn Botanical Garden because y'all know I was in
Yeah,
Brooklyn for a
beautiful,
while. So,
beautiful.
but yeah.
And also, like, yeah, when I was in Chicago, when I was like in high school, and even after, when I would just be home, public transit. I fucking love. You just ride. I mean, it's terrible sometimes, but you ride public transit, you really see people living life. Like when I was in
Mhm.
high school, and um, for a period of time, I was like a big class cutter. I did not go to class a lot, which is not good, but I did it. I would just ride the trains like over and over, and like just transfer to different trains just to see different parts of the city. It's like
Mhm.
just seeing people living life and like so many different kind of people, it just used to inspire me. And I would just have my little journal and just be like journaling, so yeah,
Yeah.
get on the bus and get your $1.35 or whatever. I don't know, what the bus costs.
It's gone up, girl. It has gone up.
I
It's
know.
$5 now.
Wait, to get on
What?
the bus?
Stop it.
Not the
Both of
bus, the
y'all are
train.
tripping.
The
Oh,
train.
5?
In DC. I'm thinking about,
5?
yeah. So in DC, the average, yeah,
5?
5 one way. Yeah.
DC do better.
Yeah.
5?
5. Yeah.
I don't
well,
even think New
shit, then
York hit
I'll just buy
3.
a car.
Exactly. It's
Shoot.
highway robbery. So yeah, anyway, yeah, that's my city. Well, that is today's episode. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Crystal. You can find me at underscore Chris Chris.
I'm Chandra. You can find me at Chani.
I'm Amebet. You can find me at Amebet Bayene, and you can find us at Unglamorous
And you
Truths.
can stream our podcast wherever you find yours.